Hello, thank you for tuning in to the Katie's the Scene show, as always addressing the indoctrination of the American nation. Now, first we're going to start off with what happened last Thursday, March 30th, 2017. If anyone has any guesses, smoke, flames. Yes, the bridge collapse of I-85. Very unfortunate event. Now, what was the story on that? Well, story has it that a man named Basil Eleby, yes, he had lit a shopping cart and a chair on fire under the bridge, and the flames had caught on to other construction materials under the bridge, which were highly flammable, which actually led to light the bridge on fire. Now, ABC had some good coverage of this. About 350 feet of the highway needs replacement, and this could be expected to cost hundreds of millions of dollars. Let's check out what ABC had to say.
Developments tonight in that inferno that triggered a collapse of a major highway in Atlanta. The key suspect under arrest, now charged with arson. ABC's Kenneth Moten reporting tonight on the conditions that led to that fire and that they could threaten highways possibly nationwide.
Tonight, new details about the man accused of intentionally setting the massive fire that took down this major Atlanta highway.
Oh my gosh!
Basil Eleby in court today, a judge saying his bond should reflect the extensive amount of damage caused.
But in this case, that would amount to probably a couple $100 million.
Eleby has a criminal past involving drugs. This police affidavit alleging Eleby went to smoke crack cocaine with two others under the I-85 bridge Thursday. One witness telling police he saw Eleby place a chair on top of a shopping cart and ignited it.
It takes something to cause something like that to burn.
The fire fueled by construction materials under the bridge, a large slab of the northbound lane collapsing. Traffic in and around this already congested city snarled.
It took me 2 hours to get out here this morning.
Workers today tearing down the sections of bridge that will need replacing. This incident creating concerns that bridges are vulnerable in other cities. Last year in Pittsburgh, bridge workers cutting steel accidentally started this blaze. And in New York, leaking propane setting materials on fire. A train passing right through, no time to stop. Tom, Georgia's governor, has now declared a state of emergency. It could take until Labor Day to replace 6 sections of road on both sides of I-85. That's an area larger than 2 football fields. Tom?
It's incredible that fire took out such a large chunk of the highway.
Welcome back to the show. As you can see from the ABC coverage, it was probably the construction materials that really set the fire ablaze under that bridge. And there are a lot of people on social media blaming the DOT, the Department of Transportation, for these incidents, calling them out and taking the blame off of Basil Eleby. Yes, Basil Eleby was reported by one of the 2 people that were there with him to have set a shopping cart on fire with a chair on it. But is that the reason why the whole bridge got set on fire and collapsed? Well, that's not really determined. So is it right for us to go and spotlight this man who is a drug addict and out of his mind when the real problem could have been the construction materials under the bridge? I guess it's neither here nor there, but at least gives us something to think about now when we spotlight a man who is a drug addict who did something while he was out of his mind. Now, reportedly, and not that I'm sticking up for him, but you know, if those construction materials were not there, would the bridge have collapsed is all that I'm asking. So that's just the question at hand. Now, reportedly, Basil Eleby lit the shopping cart and the chair on fire while in the possession of crack, and reportedly he was smoking it, and the people that were with him were looking to smoke crack with him as well. Now, Eleby has charges of first-degree arson due to this and first-degree property damage. He also has a history of about 20 arrests. So Eleby is a known offender and likely a known offender for drugs. So this just goes to point out the issues with the system of discipline and the prison system and the system of jail, and how it just cycles people back in and out of jail without actually fixing their problems. So, there's been a lot of concern about the prison sector, in particular in the USA. The USA has 5% of the world's population, but yet 25% of the world's prison population. We have 1/4 of the world's prison population, but only 5% of the world population. Now that is a very strange ratio, and one that doesn't make me too comfortable. And the fact that Eleby has been arrested 20 times but yet is still an addict of crack cocaine, just shows that there's a perpetual cycle going on here, and he's probably not the only one. So this whole incident it's very unfortunate. And to all the people that were caught in the traffic, obviously I sympathize for those people, but I can't help but wonder, was this something that had to happen for us to say, wow, we really need to do something about drug addicts in Atlanta or just in urban areas in general? Eleby is one of those drug addicts who is out of his mind, smoking crack. He lit a shopping cart and a chair on fire. This stuff you can't make up. This stuff is straight out of a movie. I mean, or even better. But the tragedy of it all and the reality of it all is that jails are not equipped to rehabilitate people to go back into the real world. In fact, what they do is they actually breed criminal behavior. So I think the statistics are something like 9 in 10 people that go to prison, now not jail, but prison, not like a holding cell, but actually go to prison, there's a 90% chance that they'll go right back to prison. 9 out of 10 people go back to prison after they've already gone. Now, those rates are disturbing at the least. So, and especially if you know someone personally who's had to deal with these issues. So anyway, like I said, Basil Eleby of this incident, who set the cart on fire with the chair, he had 2 others with him. Their names, Sophia Brower and Barry Thomas. They were arrested with Eleby, but they were charged with criminal trespass. It doesn't say that they were charged with first-degree arson or first-degree property damage. And when they show Eleby in court, when he had to go to the 11 a.m. hearing, you know, it's only Eleby. I did not see Sophia Brower. I did not see Barry Thomas. I haven't even seen Sophia Brower or Barry Thomas's photographs. I don't even know if these people are Black Americans, white Americans, Latino Americans, and just out of curiosity, I mean, why is this one man getting all the publicity here? I mean, it feels like we're just spotlighting this one person. Anyway, so reportedly, as it said on the ABC coverage, the repairs to the 350 feet of this now missing bridge are said to cost hundreds of millions of dollars. Now, we got a little bit of help, a lot of bit of help. You know, a little bit goes a long way. We got a bit of help from the federal government, and President Donald J. Trump personally called Governor Nathan Deal, and Deal tweeted about it, and Mr. Trump offered Governor Nathan Deal $10 million in emergency relief funding from the U.S. DOT, the Department of Transportation. We've got that tweet to pull up right here for you. And Governor Nathan Deal said that he is grateful for the president's time, attention, and immediate assistance during this time. And he looks like he had also copied a tweet from Chris Riley. Thank you, real Donald Trump, for calling Governor Nathan Deal. Yes, I did see that on the news as well. So that's nice to have some help from the federal government with that repair. And again, it's very unfortunate. It's got a lot of people sitting in even more congested traffic than they normally would be in Atlanta. I mean, the traffic here is not the worst. We're not nearly as bad as LA. We're not nearly as bad as New York. And of course, our industry isn't quite there yet. Not our industry, but our population isn't quite as condensed yet either. But I mean, our rush hour is just as bad here, I would have to say. So, you know, having visited both of those places, it's hard for me to distinguish rush hours from rush hours. I mean, they all kind of stink. So anyway, so moving on, the appointment of Judge Neil Gorsuch to the Supreme Court. Currently, he is the judge of the United States Courts of Appeals for the 10th Circuit, and he was appointed by George W. Bush in 2006. If he does get voted in this Friday in the upcoming vote that will take place upon this position, he will be succeeding the late Justice Antonin Scalia. So he was a former Associate Justice, of course, of the Supreme Court of the United States. And who was Mr. Scalia appointed by? Question mark. Well, he might have aligned with a lot of the same principles as George W. Bush. That is former President Ronald Reagan. So Trump upholds that Gorsuch, G-O-R-S-U-C-H, Gorsuch, defends and protects the U.S. Constitution. This is someone that we want in our system of justice, especially in this new, what I like to call American awakening since the election of Trump. Although there's been a lot of people to turn their backs on Trump since the election, and be kind of resentful of him for not getting every single thing done in his first month or 2 months of presidency, but that's just the way it is. So anyway, in this American awakening, we are starting to really acknowledge and appreciate the Constitution, and realize that the Constitution is set in place for a reason, in order to protect us and our inalienable rights, and to keep this nation as what it is supposed to be, a republic. And the difference between a republic and a democracy is, if you have not been tuning into the show, you may not be aware, or if you haven't looked it up for yourself, a republic secures the rights of the minorities so that the majority can never force submission of the minority under themselves. So basically, in a republic, all people have protection, all people have individual rights. In a democracy, which is what the Democrats want, they want this, they want this new age democracy. In a democracy, the minorities don't actually have protection from their individual rights. That's the one distinct difference between a republic and a democracy. So when you think about what the Democratic Party is supporting, and what the UN has been trying to spread all over the world, democracy, they haven't really been doing a humanitarian service. Why haven't they been spreading, republics? Why haven't they been spreading types of government where the majority cannot overtake the minority? Now, there must be something compelling that makes them follow this political path where the majority can always force the submission of the minority by way of their unaware submission or their aware submission with consent. It doesn't specify. All we know is that one party must be subject to the other. Now, anyway, we got to take a break from the Katie Sassine Show. We will return right after commercials, so stay tuned with us.
Ace is your helpful place for paint and home goods, tools, outdoor living, and lawn equipment. But did you know Ace Hardware of Blue Ridge is a little bit more? We have hunting rifles and accessories for your next hunting trip. We have Amish furniture imported directly from Ohio. And we have Ace Custom Woodworks for all your custom wood project needs, from cabinets to artwork. Ace Hardware of Blue Ridge. We have your new house in stock.
At Days Chevrolet in Jasper, we make everything better. It all starts with a huge new Chevy selection. Then we heap on the discounts to make sure your Chevy price is the lowest you'll find anywhere. And if you like great customer service, you'll love it at Days. Bigger selection, lower prices, easy financing, and great customer service. Your better day is just ahead at Days Chevrolet in Jasper, where new Chevys cost less.
Better days ahead, Days Chevrolet.
Find new roads.
North Georgia Diamond is your source for diamonds. Come on in to view the area's largest selection of fine jewelry at North Georgia Diamond. All repairs and designs are done on site by our jewelers. And North Georgia Diamond has the lowest prices on loose diamonds. You can also sell your gold, silver, and coins at North Georgia Diamond between Walmart and Lowe's in East Ellijay. Locally owned by Bill and Allison Craig, North Georgia Diamond is your source for diamonds in North Georgia.
It's a new year. New you at Schottenkirk Ford Jasper. Ring in the new year with huge deals on a brand new Ford. Right now, get exceptional offers like 0% financing plus a $1,500 factory rebate on a new 2017 Ford F-150 XLT. Or get 0% financing plus a $1,000 factory rebate on a new 2017 Ford Explorer. Make your resolution a reality during the New Year, New You sales event at Schottenkirk Ford Jasper, home of the Schottenkirk Customer Guarantee. Visit us online at SchottenkirkFordJasper.com.
What you gonna do with all that junk?
Hello, welcome back to the Katie Sassine Show. As always, addressing the indoctrination of the American nation. Now, of course, I'm your host, Katie Sassine. Remember, you can tweet me at KatieFYNTV. You can also email me at katie@fetchernews.com. Excuse me, y'all. I've got a bad cold this week, so I'm really sorry about that. If I cough or it gets in the way of my show, this pollen is getting to me or something. Now, anyway, if you weren't tuned in with us, we had just gone over the unfortunate disaster of a bridge collapse on I-85. It led to 350 feet of a non-existent bridge that needs to be reconstructed now. And this project is said to maybe cause, according to ABC coverage, a video, there was a clip that said it may cost hundreds of millions of dollars. And we did get some help from the federal government. If you are not on Twitter, or if you do not have cable, or if maybe you live out in the woods far away from any kind of Wi-Fi connection, and now you're just tuning back into the real world, then you might have heard that, yes, Mr. Trump did call Governor Nathan Deal and donate, so graciously, the Department of Transportation granted, and President Donald Trump, you know, he sent that message to Governor Nathan Deal by telephone and told him that we have granted Georgia $10 million from the Department of Transportation to help us out with this disaster. So very nice to have support from the federal government, of course, as our state government supports them. And then we went on to talk about the appointment of Judge Neil Gorsuch. He is currently the judge of the United States Court of Appeals for the 10th Circuit. He was appointed by George W. Bush in 2006. He, if voted in on this upcoming Friday in just a few days here, he will be replacing late Supreme Court Justice Antonin Scalia. And Scalia was appointed by Ronald Reagan. So we're seeing a trend here with if Judge Neil Gorsuch is to be voted in, which I obviously don't have to address, but I don't mind the trend so much personally. Now, moving on to, why do we have this guy right behind me? I mean, is he the Great Oz? I mean, what is this? It's just a huge, massive face. This is Mr. George Soros. And if you've been tuning into my show, and if you know me at all, then you know that I've mentioned this name, and I might have mentioned it in the same sentence as evil, or treacherous, or vile, or villainous. I'm out of adjectives. So this is Mr. George Soros. And where is this lovely photograph of him taken? It was at the World Economic Forum. So George Soros, he knows a lot about economics. We'll get into that. I'm not going to say everything I know right now because I have it set in an orderly fashion. So first we're going to get started talking about the Open Society Foundation. And this is Mr. George Soros's foundation. He is the founder and chairman. It was established by George Soros. And the stated purpose of the foundation is to help countries make the transition from communism. Now, this stated purpose is from, excuse me, Mr. George Soros himself. And George Soros himself stated the purpose of his foundation is to help countries make the transition from communism. Well, my question is, from communism into what? What are you transitioning communism out of, Mr. Soros? I mean, just tell us, because as far as I know, my country's not communist, so where do you fit into play in my country? You know, what role does he have in America, as he is dual citizen of Hungary and the US? It doesn't directly say, George Soros doesn't directly say. Now, my guess would be it's to make the transition probably from communism, which is, in his terms, a closed society, which we'll go over later, to an open society, and whatever that is. So basically, George Soros, with his Open Society Foundations, he wants to help countries transition to an open society. Of course. Bing, 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 bing. Of course, that's the answer, because why else would he have called it the Open Society Foundations? Now, it all makes sense, right? Now, let's go to the page, opensocietyfoundations.org, and check out what it's got to offer. So as we can see on this website, you know, it's covered with articles at the top that are changing. It's a very nice looking webpage. If we scroll down just a tad on your right hand side, we see our mission. Yeah, we'll pause right there. We see our mission. The Open Society Foundations work to build vibrant and tolerant democracies whose governments are accountable and open to the participation of all people. Now, let's highlight the word tolerant democracies. Now, that's very important. Tolerant. What is tolerance? We'll go over that later today. And also it says, here's the part that I was reading from earlier on your left-hand side about George Soros. This is exactly what I had just addressed. It says, investor and philanthropist George Soros established the Open Society Foundations to help countries make the transition from communism. This is what I was addressing earlier. And I guess I should have waited till we got to this site, but now you can see it for yourself. From communism to what? Well, to the Open Society. And he's got several writers for this page, and they do pieces, philanthropic pieces on, many issues. So feel free to check this website out, of course, anytime and do, do your own research. Now, going back. So, very interesting stuff. Now, we're probably full of a lot of questions by this time. You might be asking yourself, what is a closed society? What is an open society? What is the distinction? What does George Soros have to do with my life? Great questions, all great questions, and all necessary to know in order to figure out what's been going on behind the scenes in not only American government, of course, but world government and world politics, because as you know, this is a globalized, very, very highly interconnected world, especially with the advances of technology, of which Mr. George Soros has many ties in as well. So this is a story of many layers. Really, this is a story that could fill a novel. I'm condensing it to less than a week of shows. So the Open Society Foundations and George Soros, here we go. Now, Soros's Open Society is inspired by Karl Popper. Karl Popper is an Austrian-British philosopher and later became professor, always maintained his philosophizing, of course. Philosophizing, yes. So Popper founded the Department of Philosophy, Logic, and Scientific Method at the London School of Economics. I did have the privilege to go visit the London School of Economics this past July. I went for my music and entertainment business trip with the Joel A. Katz Music and Entertainment Business Program. And we were at the graphic design area. We went to the graphic design sector where they were doing video games. It's a very prestigious school from what I can see, and very beautiful, very, with lots of advancements. And I mean, of course, it wasn't state of the art when we walked in there. I mean, it was just regular classrooms like we have here in the US, but it was a very nice school and very cool in the city, very nice location. Anyway, so Popper actually founded a department there, Philosophy, Logic, and Scientific Method. And where did George Soros, trivia question, receive not only a bachelor's, but also a master's in philosophy? Well, if you listen to the last sentence and you guessed it, he probably went to the London School of Economics. Yes, he did. And Soros was reportedly also a student of Karl Popper, who founded that department, of which George Soros received not only his bachelor's, but his master's degree. So there's this, direct connection between Popper and Soros. And more on Popper. Karl Popper is politically known for defending liberal democracy. Now, again, if you're wondering why we're talking about Popper, earlier I stated, or meant to state if I didn't, that Soros's Open Society is inspired by Karl Popper. So that's why we're talking about Mr. Popper here. So anyway, Soros was reportedly a student, and Popper's politically known for defending liberal democracy and an open society. Liberal democracy and an open society. Popper is primarily known for his philosophy of science called critical rationalism, leading him to reject classical empiricism, which of course, classical empiricism is traditional science. It's based on knowledge, it's based on experience. It's the science based off of what we know. Therefore, knowledge and therefore science, right? But this critical rationalism, leading him to reject classical empiricism, which is knowledge, science based off experience, has led him to believe in false falsifiability. Sorry, I want to say falsibility, but it's falsifiability, also called the problem of demarcation. And demarcation is limits. It's setting boundaries. So another way to say demarcation is saying the problem of having social constructs, the problem of defining what is and what is not. So Mr. Popper finds it to be a huge issue that, you know, society is based upon constructs, and it's just a bunch of demarcation. It's a bunch of unnecessary demarcation, a bunch of unnecessary boundaries. So basically, what does he believe? I mean, is he a nihilist? Does he believe in anything? Does he not believe in anything? Is he a nihilist? Well, not exactly. What he believes is that everything is relative. So, and he believes that nothing can be predicted, and everything, critical rationalism, everything can be denied. So falsifiability, to falsify anything, you can falsify anything. So basically Popper, he recognizes that, well, you know, you say this is true and you say that this is science, but guess what? It's not. Because I can say that there was no set path for humanity, and that, you know, we didn't know the future of what was to become science and what was to become knowledge. So therefore, knowledge could have become anything. And therefore, our knowledge is merely just chance. It's not actually knowledge. It's not actually fact. It's just a bunch of social constructs derived from chance happenings. So it's a very complicated and confusing idea, but it's basically, you know, anything can be denied. And so it just kind of denies all empirical science as being factual. Now, we're going to continue more on the Open Societies Foundation, of course, with Karl Popper and Mr. George Soros. So I encourage you to stay tuned in to be more educated about this topic. And remember, you can follow me on Twitter at KatieFYNTB. And you can also email me at katie@veterannews.com. Thank you, Sam. And so remember, don't be indoctrinated by the nation. And I will see you tomorrow, same time, same place. Thank you for tuning in.